One night, while Jesse was slumped over a laptop, fast asleep, Charlie and Sarah sat on the floor, surrounded by paper trails and the hum of the heater. "Do you ever wonder if it's worth it?" Sarah asked, her voice a whisper in the quiet night. "The danger? The constant looking over our shoulder?" Charlie took her hand. "Every time I see a victim's family get closure, I know it is. And every time I look at you, I know it's worth everything." Chapter 8. The Final Hand. The climax of the Craner legacy didn't happen in a courtroom. It happened at an abandoned lighthouse on Cape Spear. The intelligence they had gathered pointed to a final, desperate meeting of the Craner lieutenants. A last-ditch effort to organize a jailbreak for Jason. Charlie insisted on being part of the raid. "I'm not sitting this one out," he told Donovan. "My shoulder is fine. My aim is better." The night was a tempest. Rain lashed against the rocks, and the wind howled through the iron skeleton of the old lighthouse. Rex moved ahead, his senses heightened by the storm. Sarah was with the backup team, her heart in her throat as she watched the tactical feed. "Rex has a scent," Charlie whispered into his comms. "We're moving in." The raid was chaotic and violent. The lieutenants were desperate, trapped between the ocean and the law. In the heart of the lighthouse, Charlie found himself face to face with Elroy Denny's brother, a man fueled by a twisted sense of loyalty and a massive amount of rage. The fight was brutal. Charlie's injured shoulder screamed in protest as he wrestled with the man. Rex was a whirlwind of fur and teeth, taking down two other gunmen while Charlie struggled to gain the upper hand. Just as the lieutenant reached for a hidden knife, a shot rang out. The man slumped to the ground, his weapon skittering away. Charlie looked up to see Sarah standing in the doorway, her service weapon drawn, her eyes fierce. "I told you I could take care of myself," she said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline. Charlie leaned against the cold stone wall, catching his breath. He looked at Rex, then at Sarah. "Remind me never to get on your bad side." The jailbreak was thwarted, the lieutenants were captured, and the Craner organization was finally, truly dismantled. As the sun began to rise over the Atlantic, painting the sky in bruises of purple and gold, Charlie and Sarah stood together on the edge of the cliff. Epilogue. The view from the hill. 2 weeks later, Charlie stood on the bluff, overlooking the Atlantic. His arm was finally out of the sling, though he still favored the side. The air was clear, a crisp autumn morning that promised a long, cold winter. Rex sat beside him, his tail thumping rhythmically against the grass, his eyes watching a pair of gulls circling over the waves. He heard the crunch of gravel and turned to see Sarah walking toward him. She was carrying 2 coffees, one fancy, one black. "The doctor said you shouldn't be out here without a jacket," she said, handed him the cup. She was wearing his old flannel shirt over her sweater, a sight that made Charlie's breath hitch. "The doctor doesn't live in a trailer with a restless German shepherd," Charlie joked, pulling her close with his good arm. They stood in silence for a long time, watching the waves crash against the jagged rocks below. The cases were closed. The Craners were a memory of the past. The Devereaux legacy was a cautionary tale, and the yacht was a ghost in the harbor. "Sarah," Charlie said, turning to her. "Yes, Charlie? The song I was writing. I finished it. For real this time." She looked at him, her eyes bright, with a mixture of amusement and deep affection. "And, are you going to play it for me?" "No," Charlie said, his voice dropping an octave. "I'm going to live it." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, simple gold band. It wasn't flashy, but it was solid. "I've spent my life looking for suspects, Sarah. For clues, for evidence, for truth. But the only truth I ever really needed was the one I found in you." He took a deep breath. "I don't want to wait for the right moment anymore. I want every moment to be the right one, as long as it's with you." Sarah's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't look away. She didn't hesitate. She simply held out her hand. "Yes, Charlie. 1,000 times yes." And there, under the vast Newfoundland sky, with Rex as their only witness and the North Atlantic as their backdrop, Charlie Hudson finally closed the distance. The kiss tasted like coffee, salt air, and the promise of a lifetime. For the first time in his life, Detective Charlie Hudson wasn't looking for a suspect. He was exactly where he was meant to be. The end. Shadows of the North Atlantic, a Hudson and Sarah saga. Prologue. The fog of Street Johns. The fog in Street Johns was never just weather. It was a character. It crept over the colorful row houses like a silent witness, dampening the sound of the Atlantic and blurring the lines between the sea and the sky. For Detective Charlie Hudson, the salt air usually brought a sense of clarity. Today, it felt heavy. Standing on the edge of a rain-slicked sidewalk, Charlie adjusted his jacket. Beside him, Rex, his German Shepherd partner, sat with ears perked, his nose twitching as he sampled the morning air. Rex didn't need a badge to know when the world was out of balance. Across the street, Sarah Trung was already at work, her delicate frame silhouetted against the harsh flashing lights of a patrol car. She was a vision of logic in a world of chaos. Her dark hair tucked behind her ears as she peered through a camera lens. Charlie watched her for a moment longer than professional courtesy required. In the high-stakes world of the Major Crimes Unit, Sarah was his North Star, the only one who truly understood the weight he carried. Chapter 1. The Silent Artist. The case began with a scream that no one heard. Megan Schaefer, a rising star at Wilkins Law, had vanished into the gray morning. Her only witness was Brian, a 12-year-old boy whose world was defined by the lines of his colored pencils rather than the spoken word. "He's not talking, Charlie," Sarah said softly as they stood in the Johnson living room. The air was thick with the scent of lavender and maternal panic. Emma Janssen, Brian's mother, held a crumpled drawing in her shaking hands. Charlie knelt beside Brian. The boy was hunched over a sketchbook, his hand moving with frantic, mechanical precision. Rex approached slowly, his tail giving a single, rhythmic thump against the hardwood floor. In that moment, a bridge was formed, one built of fur and silence. "Autism isn't a barrier to seeing," Sarah whispered, her hand resting briefly on Charlie's shoulder. The touch was electric, a brief spark of warmth in a cold room. "It's just a different way of processing the nightmare." As the hours ticked by, the investigation spiraled. A ransom demand of $2 million arrived like a thunderclap. The suspect list was a minefield. Jamie, the jilted ex-lover, Todd, the partner with a hidden agenda, and the shadow of a professional kidnapper named Earl Blackburn. Charlie and Sarah spent the night in the lab, illuminated by the sterile glow of computer monitors. Sarah's eyes were tired, but her resolve was unshakable. "If we don't find her soon, Charlie, the statistics aren't in our favor," she said, her voice cracking slightly. Charlie stepped closer, the space between them narrowing until he could smell the faint scent of her jasmine tea and the underlying metallic tang of the lab. "We have Rex, and we have you. We're going to bring her home." He wanted to reach out, to take her hand, to promise her that the world wouldn't always be this cruel. But the phone rang a lead on a rental van. The moment passed, tucked away into the what-if drawer of their lives. Chapter 2. Blood on the Best Kind. The rescue of Megan Schaefer was a triumph, but the peace was short-lived. The North Atlantic had a way of claiming lives, and Jacob Kaufman was its latest victim. The Best Kind was a luxury yacht that looked like a palace on the water, but to Sarah, it was a floating crime scene. Kaufman, a tech mogul with a reputation for bullying, had been found pinned to his deck by a spear gun. "It's overkill," Sarah noted, crouching over the body. The angle, the seawater on the spear. This wasn't just a crime of opportunity, it was a performance. The investigation took them into the lives of the elite and the desperate. There was Michelle Soroco, the captain who saw too much. Veronica Goodwin, the business partner who knew the price of a crypto key. And Blaine, the deckhand with a past he couldn't outrun. During a stakeout on the docks, Charlie and Sarah sat in the dark interior of his SUV. The rain drummed a relentless rhythm on the roof. "Do you ever think about it?" Sarah asked suddenly, looking out at the black water. "Getting away from it all? A boat, a compass, and no more autopsies?" Charlie looked at her profile, the way the dashboard lights highlighted the curve of her jaw. "I used to, before I came back to Street Johns. Now, I think I've found where I'm supposed to be, with you," he thought, though the words stayed behind his teeth. The mystery of Kaufmann's death was solved not with a gun,